what a nice place you have in Denver.
It's
It's a
my
great
it's my home office.
environment.
Yeah, it's well, what I do with digital information and collecting it, I also do analog. So since I was a child, I collected things, and I just keep them in
Excellent.
this one room. It's my one room to remember like everything I've done in front of me.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, you are right now connected with our class,
Hi, class.
so you cannot see them, but they can see you and listen to you. And I'm really happy that you can join us. And well, the set is yours. Please tell us how long would you like to speak? Half an hour, whatever is enough for us. So please welcome.
Thank you. So, gosh, it's been an interesting year. Um, about 5 years ago, I turned 40,
Wow.
and I said to myself, do I have the skills as a 40-year-old person to still have a job in 10 years? So about 2020. And the answer was no, I didn't. Most of the work that was being done in the United States for what we call white-collar professionals, it just means people put on a tie and go do business work, it was going away. And many of the systems that we managed from a infrastructure prospect were being automated or outsourced. So I thought to myself, what do I need to know to have a job in 10 years? And it was a lot. There was so much because the world was changing so fast. So there was a lot of things I could have focused on. I thought robotics was really important. I thought deep learning and artificial intelligence was really important. But when I looked at what was interesting, I stumbled upon this movement called the quantified self. And the quantified self movement was in its very early stages. But the quantified self movement believes that there is knowledge through measurement of yourself. So something as simple as measuring sleep or what you eat. And I took that and I thought to myself, all of the connected systems we use on the internet, everything from Facebook to Google Docs to cloud storage, they all have our information in them, but more importantly, they have our relationship with them in them. So when do you access it? How do you access it? And I realized that the real value of all my photos on Instagram or the real value of my habits on Twitter wasn't going to be found in 10 years in what Twitter had about me. They could target advertising at me, but that wasn't going to matter. What was going to matter was how I behaved. And would there be an industry, or more importantly, what I believe, a global economy based on personal informatics? So the way that you behave and the way that the world responds to that behavior, first digitally, and then with smart objects in your house that respond to, you know, how you're feeling or what the temperature is, and what would these smart objects do if they could talk to you and you could talk to them. And so I came up with this concept that I called existence as a platform. So basically, if everything is tied to compute and tied to the internet, then it should respond to you. You shouldn't have to, turn something on or push a button. Walking into a room, lights should turn on, right? That happens in the bathroom. You leave a bathroom, the lights go off. Some toilets, you walk away from the toilet flushes. But the rest of life outside of the bathroom is not automated. So I really started to systematically over the last 5 years pull apart the different parts of my life into these areas, and I'll go over them with you if you want. So I'll show you. Hold on one second, I'll share my screen.
You want us to show?
I'm going to share my screen with you.
Okay, excellent.
Let's see. All right, so that's going to work. All right, let me go ahead and say share. Un momento. Share. Screen one. Start. And then we'll fall into a little rabbit hole. So this is kind of what I call the human information system. And it works by combining a few key elements. I won't go over some of the funny slides because they're just silly. They're just joke slides.
That's perfect, actually.
But the idea is, you know, mobile phones don't ruin us or make us less social. You know, if that were true, newspapers did that. And this is from 1815, and a principal, he published, and he said, to students today depend on paper too much. They don't know how to write with a slate without getting chalk all over themselves. They don't know how to clean a slate. So I think just because you have connected systems doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or the world. Most students today, you know, live through connected systems. So 2 years ago, a reporter found me and dubbed me the most connected human on Earth, and then it's just been this wave of publicity. I'm meeting with the Wall Street Journal tomorrow. I was in another English newspaper today. It's just been a lot of people wanting to talk to me and know what I do and how I do it. And for me, this, like I said, it started out with me realizing that I might not have a job. And what would that look like moving forward? So there are 4 fundamental problems that we face today as humans. Access to medical care, and then information from medical care. So in my case, I had access to medical care, but my physician didn't know much about my health. He had, you know, 20 years worth of a chart, and he couldn't tell me anything. So to fix that problem, I went to my physician, and I got 1,100 pages of my chart and had them scanned and actually paid someone to type them in so I could search my own health history.
Wow, excellent.
The second problem we have is if you look at how you behave on the internet, you know, whether you're a student or a teacher or your parents or anyone who has access to the internet, your information is spread everywhere. So this is just my information over a bunch of different systems that I use, and there's no way that I can even I can possibly understand this. So what I did was I broke my life into these 10 sections: my health, what I do for work, what I do with my money, how I spend my money, my finances, my spirituality, what I do for entertainment, my environment where I'm sitting right now, anything I create that's content that could be consumed. So I broke it in these 10 areas. But the problem was it's too much for one person to consume and understand what they're doing. Problem 3 is in 2014, we live in a world where we create a lot of stuff, but it's all gets lost. And this is from Nintendo. I grew up playing Nintendo in the 80s, and there was a screen at the end, and it said everything not saved will be lost. And it's true of all the information we create online, or if you're a student and you write a paper, you know, you turn it in, you might want it someday. You might have a billion dollar idea in that paper, and you have no way of finding that paper or even knowing, you know, who you gave it to a week from now.
Exactly.
If I ask most people, what did you do last week? They don't know. They can say, well, I met my friend Javier, I went out to lunch, I went to a movie, and I worked. But you did hundreds and thousands of things last week, and they're all recorded. You just don't have access to them. And problem 4 is we live very much in a Elysium, just like the movie, where the very elite who have access to things that can prolong and save their lives live in this special area, and all the regular people live on Earth. Except the Elysium we live in now is a data Elysium. So major corporations and governments have lots of information on us, but we have nothing on ourselves. And I believe that information is the key to reinvent economics as we know it in the next decade. And for students today to understand that what they create and how they save their information and how they have access to it puts them in Elysium. And if they don't, in 10 years, they're going to be forced into very low-paying jobs that could be automated just 5 years after that 10-year period. So if I look at the spectrum of information that I create, I have my professional profile for work on LinkedIn. I have my social, I like Twitter and I like Facebook. I have my health information, and then I have my genetic information through a company called 23andMe that does
Exactly.
a gene test. And Mark Zuckerberg famously said 3 years ago that every year people share twice as much as they did the year before. So it's called Zuckerberg's Law. And what I found is now that we're moving into health devices and genetic information systems and appliances around your home and in your life that are always connected to the internet, that information will also double every 2 years. So what do we do to kind of harness it and bring it all together? So this is just an example of some of the things in my house. There's hundreds of devices all over my house collecting
Wow.
information, recording, and then responding very differently. So if I sleep very poorly and I wake up, the lights know to wake up at a certain color, and the temperature knows to wake up at a certain temperature. And even my Spotify will only play certain music when I wake up.
Wow.
So it's about using the information that you create, whether you're sleeping or eating or with friends, to make the world around you change. So this is kind of me today. Along the bottom we have all the things in my house. So we have a Canary smart system that monitors a lot of with cameras and sensors about motion detection. My mattress, I lay on it. There's a strap that measures my heart rate and my breathing when I'm sleeping. I have something called an Estimote all over my house, and these Estimotes look like little pebbles. And the Estimotes are proximity beacons. So basically, as you pass by them with a smartphone, even visitors to my home get sent a message to their phone. So,
wow.
Don't use this toilet; it doesn't flush. Or Rocco likes to jump on you when he meets you, but don't be worried. Or the TV you turn on with a big remote with the blue button. So no matter where you go, the house kind of talks to you using these proximity beacons. I use a Wi-Fi stereo which I hacked called Sonos to control what music goes where, so that if I'm too excited, it only plays calm music. My house is controlled by a Nest thermostat, which I hacked so that the house itself has kind of weird relationship with temperature. And then all my lights are Wi-Fi. And then on my body, I wear Google Glass, a little camera called a Narrative that takes a picture every few minutes, a heart rate sensor, a galvanic skin response sensor, a posture sensor. And then my truck has a sensor in it, so when I'm driving, I know how I'm driving. My dogs have sensors.
Wow.
So
That's fantastic.
and everything, all the information from all these systems gets taken and put together. And when I started this experiment and this project, I noticed that just something like a picture of a walk was full of information if you used your phone correctly. So this is a picture of me walking to lunch, but that picture could also be put into several different applications that started adding more information to the picture. So in this case, through one application, I was able to take a picture. It knew the location I was in, it knew the temperature, and it knew what song I was listening to, and it put it all in one photograph. So
Wow.
photographs are much more rich with information if we allowed them to talk to these other systems. And I said to myself 3 years ago, people need to be aware of this so they can take charge of it. This is another example of how that works. So going to lunch involved deciding where to go by looking it up, and then walking there, and then once I got there, recording what I ate, and then recording what I spent, and then having that all show in one picture. So it's not just eating lunch. It's a bunch of information about eating lunch that I can use to make better decisions, lose weight, make better choices. Basically, most of the things I measure are either on my body or in my environment. So the things inside, like the sound in the room I'm in right now, the CO2 levels in the room I'm in right now, the pressure in the room I'm in right now, humidity, temperature, and then physical attributes, everything from blood tests to sleeping to exercise. And then I take that information and I examine it, and I'll show you how in a moment. So the first thing to remember about data collection in the future when it comes to your information is it has to be easy to get, because if you have to write stuff down or manually record stuff or go into a bunch of apps, it's too much trouble to get any value. So you have to look at information as low friction, meaning easy to collect. So if you're a cave person and you scratch on a stone wall, that's hard work.
Yeah.
If you don't have books and you have to make sure that the old people in your village remember everything, that's hard work. But once you get books, and then temporary books we call newspapers, and you get mass media and computers, and then you move into sensors and neurology and robotics and genetics, the information gets easier because it becomes digitized and very easy to collect. So for me, that information falls into 10 areas: my health, my entertainment, my environment, my social, my knowledge work, what I do for a job, travel, opinion. For instance, at the airport in Mexico City, my Foursquare tip at the Mexico City airport is the #1 tip with 300 favorites, because
Really?
if you visit Mexico and you're not a Mexican citizen, you have to carry an extra piece of paper with you. And if you lose that piece of paper, you can't get out of the country without paying like $50. So
Yeah, that's correct.
I left a tip, and everyone who travels to Mexico now loves my tip, right? So
Excellent.
opinion and content curation. So ultimately what I did was I took all of that information and I color-coded it, and I dump it all into a Google Calendar so that I can say, show me the last time I spoke to someone about this topic at this location and I was feeling this way. And it returns it to me. It's like Googling yourself, but you can Google your life. And there's about 4 terabytes of flat data just on my life that I've collected so far. And then I mapped that out to a Maslow's hierarchy. So I could say, well, if I want to be healthier, I need to change this in the environment, change this in my spending, and change this in the music I listen to. I back up everything in lots of different systems. One of the systems I use for text files is Evernote. I also pump all of my information into spreadsheets to run reports. And then I took all that information and I created an identity matrix. So at the lowest level, you've got your human needs that are recorded. At the next level up, you have your personal needs. And then you've got what you do for business or school, which allows you to have a lifestyle and friends, which allows you to have things like be connected socially through digital connections, which ultimately allows you to maybe create content that people want that's valuable, which ultimately allows you to be known globally, which ultimately is your identity. We talked earlier about identity and email. So I put all my services into this so I could understand what services were ultimately at what level, so I could focus on just being focused on the good stuff. This is some of my genetic information. I do my genetics, my genome, and I also focus on my microbiome.
Wow.
This is an example of how the CO2 levels in my house affect my driving. So on the left-hand side, we've got the CO2 levels in my house. On the right-hand side, we've got a day where I drove really bad. And you can see that CO2 levels on a human actually make them a little bit disoriented and affect their thinking. So, helping to just know that helped me make sure that I keep the CO2 levels low, open windows, clean the furnace, and my driving is better. I've lost 100 pounds, so
Wow.
I did that through just modifying behavior through data routines. Some of the interesting things I learned are just because I record something digitally, it actually has a lot of interaction with other systems. So unbeknownst to us, systems talk to each other when we post to them. We just don't see the shadow of our digital selves. This is an example of where I was getting my finger pricked for a blood test, but because my 23andMe has a service that lets you take your DNA and put it through a synthesizer, so literally you can listen to my DNA on YouTube. I've got my own song that's just
Wow.
mine, and I just think in the future, you should just be able to take any type of information and send it as a song to somebody that they can listen to and understand.
That's nice. That's fantastic.
See, and these are just all the systems that have a direct correlation to each other. So me, my dog, my house, my truck, my mattress, and just the connected things in my house will all kind of resonate at the same data level. I'll see correlations between all of them sometimes. And what I call all of this, all of these things put together, when you connect all the things you wear, even if you just have a smartphone and nothing else, and you talk to the outside world, that becomes the internet, not the internet. And the internet is really the world where most people will live, and most people have jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. And then I just talk a little bit about wearable computing, and because most people don't really understand wearable computing and the history of wearable computing. But if you go to Disneyland today in the United States, you can get the hat with your name on it. But Disneyland today gives you a bracelet that tracks everything you do. But they don't give you that information, and I think that's valuable. This is some examples of wearable clothing that collects information. So everything from health information, like we know about wearables that do health, but then you've got wearable clothing like these shoes, the zapatos up at the top. They actually vibrate left or right, so you don't have to use GPS when you're walking down a street and you need directions. The shoes just vibrate to tell you which way to go, without you having to think about it. So basically, using wearable clothing and devices to give you information about the world around you. Slightly past that, we get kind of into imperceptible electronics. There's a lot of news on this now. Still very early days, but within 3 or 4 years, there will be a lot of these. In Japan, you can actually buy a human exoskeleton for about $20,000 to help you do chores around the house, or if you do a lot of repetitive tasks to help you avoid injury. But I think the thing most people are interested when it comes to information is, in the United States and in Europe, there's a lot of surveillance. The police officers in the United States wear cameras, and you've got satellites and drones and cameras at stores. But when you wear information, when you wear devices, you can also do surveillance. So this is me having lunch with my partner, Jose Maria, and the camera I'm wearing is taking a picture of him every 30 seconds. So I can go back to that day and see what we ate and where we were and experience that in real time. Because oftentimes we lose a lot of that. The other side of this is something called a capture, and it's a wristband that records everything you say, but it only saves when you double tap it. So if you say something really funny or your friend says something really smart, you just double tap your wristband and it saves the last 60 seconds of that sentence. So
wow.
It's just like surveillance, but it's for you and it's your information. It should be available to you. This is something called the Open Informant Project. So basically, it's a little wearable device that shows you all the information that you're giving away without you knowing about it. You just wear it and people can see what you're doing that you might not be aware of. So, often you're reading an article on the internet, Google knows you're reading that article, so it helps you understand. So I just go into a little bit about, the whole process of this, and then the idea of context. So, if you have a device, it can help understand you biologically. If you're wearing a neurological device, it can help you understand what you focus on and where you focus. This is traveling around New York City and actually what I paid attention to or what you pay attention to. And then genetic context. There are applications now that will take your blood and give you a full genetic sequence, but the application sends you ads for things you're susceptible to, like hair loss and heart disease. But you get it for free, but it's just the idea. But this is kind of like a day in the life of context for me, Chris Dancy. So, like, I was waiting to go on a trip, and my Google Glass told me, hey, it's time to leave. You need to be at the airport and the traffic's bad. And then when I got to the airport, my phone said, hey, you're at the airport. Here's your boarding pass. And then I went to the wrong gate, and my phone popped up and said, hey, you're at the wrong gate. You need to go to this gate. And then when I got to where the city I was going to, it said, hey, welcome to the city. Your baggage is here. And then when I walked outside, it said, hey, welcome to San Francisco. Do you want a car to pick you up? So the information that you create can help assist you through context. This is another example of context. So at the top, is me wearing Google Glass and looking at the airport boards to try to figure out where I was going, but Google Glass just shows me, so I don't have to look at those boards. Google Glass will also do real-time translation from one language to another. So when I'm in Mexico now, I can actually use Google Glass to read street signs without having to type anything in. It just translates the sign for me. And then below is me using Google Glass with a tie to when I'm spending money. So if I spend too much money, there's a trigger to actually send me a text message at the location I'm in to tell me to stop shopping. This is the opposite of that. So this is diminished reality. So this is using a wearable heads-up device to actually change the world around you. So you don't want to see street signs and advertisements. You want to see reminders, or you want your friends to send you text messages, but the text messages show up on the signs in front of you instead of like on your phone. So the idea would be, what would happen if you combined the quantified self with the Internet of Things? Well, you would end up with what I call existence as a platform. So you live your life, and the world around you changes automatically. And this is all done by just analyzing the information that you create. It's a bond between, for me it started in 2010 with a bond between technology and humanity. In 2011, I changed it to everything I collected about myself physically tied to a storage facility, tied to an algorithm. And then by 2012, I'd created what people now see me do every day, and that's my knowledge locker, or all the information about me, tied to an algorithm, tied to environmental settings, tied to a fully quantified biological existence. It allows you to play like tic-tac-toe, so if the plants are dry, change the temperature and turn on the lights. So you can any application, sensor, device, or service tied to any type of environmental setting you can actually change. And from there you can create an assisted existence, so life can just change in real time around you. Or more importantly, you can precondition environments to change habits. So you want to stop smoking or lose weight, you can actually use the house to actually behave differently so that you actually create new habits. That's it.
Wow. You know, Chris, I'm very happy that that you could give us this time, this talk. At this precise time, you are being seen in a very nice salon, in a very nice classroom conference, which is physically located maybe 10 kilometers from where I am.
Nice.
And this is really cool because right now my students, who are PhD students, are seeing you in a conference room, while I'm working in a lab with people who's actually doing processing of biological data. They are seeing you, and they are really excited about your talk. I would like to introduce you from the lab.
Okay.
For example, my wife, she's a medical doctor. She has a PhD in bioethics, and as you know, and as I mentioned it before, I'm an engineer, and I have a PhD in psychology, social psychology. Right now we are in a biology lab, and all these people here is processing metadata. We are at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. In this lab we have two groups, people processing data from biodiversity, Mexican biodiversity, and biological data. I don't know where is the head staff of the lab. I would like to introduce her to you. Right now we are in a very set up moment, no, because we are adding new equipment to the lab. But as you mentioned it, and I'm excited because of this.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure, please.
What I showed you and what I explained, does it make sense to? I mean, you're a scientist and a PhD.
Makes all sense.
Okay.
Makes all sense, Chris, because I believe that you and us in this interdisciplinary work and field, we are going to have a lot of work and a lot of jobs in the future, because all this metadata and data processing, it's going to be the richness of the future of jobs,
yes.
basically.
I believe it. I believe if something happens to the economies, this is the new currency.
Exactly, exactly. I, I'm very happy that you really accept to talk to us because we are speaking pretty much in the same language. As you can see, we have medical doctors, veterinarians, we have biologists, engineers, computologists, working everybody in the same lab, and we start analyzing scientific literature related to different fields. And as you mentioned it, because our students and the students, they want to know what they are producing and
Yeah.
what they are going to relate for their future jobs and future fields of study. They are moving from different fields of study, which is a very interesting
Yeah.
thing. And they are publishing in biological journals, and suddenly they start to publishing in history journals. And this, we need to see this path. We need to realize how to build and construct this path.
It's so important because I think, in so many ways, my partner is Mexican. He's from a city just outside of Monterrey, and
Okay.
in so many ways, I think, I love visiting Mexico. It's got such a rich
Well, you're
history.
more than welcome to visit us whenever you want.
But I think the biggest breakthroughs in science and in this new type of information are actually going to come out of Mexico. I mean, there's a lot of problems with every government and every culture, but some of the most amazing diversity and some of the most well thought out arguments and research I've seen have been based on Mexican PhDs. One of my best friends is his name is Mauricio Corona. And he lives in Mexico City, and he's a PhD there, and just brilliant.
Do you know where does he work? Is he at
He has his own company. So
he has his own company.
It's called
All
BP
right.
Gurus. Yeah, see.
Okay.
So it's just wonderful. So I wish you guys the best. And please, if any of the students have any questions, all of my research and all of my stuff is on SlideShare. So slideshare.com, Chris
Excellent. Thank
Dancy.
you.
You can get to all of it, and feel free to reach out and email me any questions you have. If there's specific routines you want to understand on how I collect or anything specifically, I'd be more than happy. I mean, there's nothing more important to me than making sure that I support the people who I think need it, and you guys are going to do such amazing things. I'm just so excited. I was so honored when you asked me. I was blown away.
No, thank you very much to you, Chris. I see that you have a 5 minutes span between your next talk or your next meeting.
Yes. Journalist.
Journalist, excellent. Well, I'm really thankful by the group, by the PhD program. I'm really thankful by the lab. We are going to be in contact with you for sure. We have a lot of things in common and things to share.
Great.
And I think we are in the beginning of an excitement starting of
Yes,
collaboration.
if there's anything that you guys want to share with the world, I have a pretty big stage right now. Let me know, and I'd love to help shine some light on your program.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm going to send you a couple of things of the good things that we are doing.
I'd love a picture of the class.
Oh, okay, for sure. I'm going to ask them to take them a picture of the saloon, and I'm going to send you a site, a special site we have here at the lab where we are collaborating, so you can have the most of information about the things that we are doing right now.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, gracias, and I really appreciate the work you're doing with our students. You're very, very fortunate, and anything I can do, let me know. Be well.
Of course. Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao, Chris.
Ciao, adios.
Adios.